It's way past time I dispense some indiscriminate justice!
G'day guys, Duckville here. We're up to game 3 of the series between Strelok, Mouse Strelok here, up in the top right of Xel'Naga Caverns, and his opponent down here. Do not be fooled by that name. That is actually CheckPrime from the Korean team Prime Gaming, and of course a very quality player. So we're up to game 3. It is 1-1 in this series. Of course, whoever wins this has taken the victory from this series. But we will see if Strelok is actually going to use the advantages that this map has for Terran, or if he will be sort of swarmed by the forces of Check when Check actually moves out here. But we'll see what happens. Just a little bit of background about Check that some people might not know. He was a Night Elf player in Warcraft 3. He actually played Orc sometimes, but just generally he played Night Elf. Anyway, enough about that cool little trick there. Do keep in mind, this is unlike on the MLG version of Metalopolis, which was played first, there's no building blocker here. So you can actually wall in this low ground ramp quite quickly there. And what this will actually do is stop the opponent from actually getting inside and coming up the ramp and at least seeing partially what is up here at the top of the ramp, because a lot of people sometimes do build their production facilities close to the ramp, and if you get a unit up here you can actually see whatever's happening, of course. So the other advantage of doing this wall in is that it actually stops the initial scout from actually seeing inside. Of course, he is playing against the Zerg, so it's not going to really matter too much, of course, given that on these 1v1 maps Zerg generally don't actually send in a drone scout. But we'll see what Check gets up to. He has taken this very quick expansion here. I believe that was a 15 hatch, and he's going to get his economy into gear quite quickly here. Now, the low ground wall in, because it obviously, as we mentioned before, stops the scouting quite early, and of course stops your opponent from seeing what is happening here in this position. He may go for some sort of tech, I'm not really too sure, but he hasn't gotten a second gas quick at all, so I would not think there's going to be Banshees or any sorts of fast sort of factory sorts of builds. But we'll see what happens, because of course in the previous game Strelok actually went for just the very methodical sort of tank pushes, which he sort of utilized the low ground and the high ground and the medevacs spotting the high ground. So we'll see if he does the same sort of thing here. He does get a factory up. There's that scouting drone. I did mention that Zergs generally don't do it, but as we can see, he did actually get it done in this case here. But we did have a little sort of perhaps a bunker push coming here from Strelok. We'll see if he can actually get it into position here. The hatchery is now popped. We'll see if the bunker goes down. I'm not sure if this is going to actually go down at all, because a lot of drones have been pulled, as we can see here, and as we can see on the production of this hatchery, a queen is going to be out. So the bunker not going to happen. No, not going to happen, because there's only one racks, of course. This generally really only works when there's two racks. The STV, meanwhile, getting inside, spotting it that there is no second gas quickly, so there's probably not going to be quick muters or anything like that, but he'll be able to sort of hang around and see what he can find. And we do see a reactor going down on the racks here. It's actually interesting to see. I haven't actually seen too many people do. Here's what he's doing. I was going to say, I don't see too many people do this low ground reactor thing, but as you can see, he's actually going to get the reactor done for some Hellions to come out, and he's probably going to use those to harass the natural expansion quite quickly there. And actually, just a tiny little thing you can see here from Strelok, a lot of people miss these sorts of things sometimes, is that when you put a supply depot over here to block off this side, you can actually, it really helps with blocking off any sorts of Ling run-bys. The obvious disadvantage is that any mutas that might come over here will have easy pickings on these supply depots, and as we can see, he's going to block off this side as well. So nothing too much happening so far. We do have the two Hellions out on the map. Meanwhile, a Zergling is just coming in here to find out what is going on. He's going to just check if the expansion there is done. Meanwhile, those Hellions actually did get inside. We do see they are here trying to roast up some of these drones. They will try and target down a couple of them. They have done one so far. They're probably going to have a go at another 2 or 3, and if they get a few more, that may actually have made this whole attack quite worth it. But we do see that the Zerglings now, with their extra little bit of speed boost on the creep, have actually come inside, actually takes out those two Zerglings. Meanwhile, the Hellion actually comes into a bit of trouble, but we do see that 2 extra Hellions have come out here. The Hellion, one of the first Hellions has been destroyed, and the Zerglings are still getting roasted up there. So a decent attack there from Strelok, actually taking out a few units, a few of the Zerglings, which is great. Of course, those Zerglings could have been drones, but of course he used them for defense and then lost them. So we do see some more Hellions coming out here from Strelok. He's got a couple of racks going down. He's obviously going to expand under the cover of the Hellion pressure. Meanwhile, as we mentioned in Game 2 or Game 1, I can't actually remember, the Sacrificial Overlord coming inside, not actually seeing much at all, but the Hellions once again are inside here. If they can get up the ramp, this will be very powerful, because then they can shoot down on these Zerglings, give them all some hell there from that fire. And they do get inside. 3 of them still alive. They did roast up all of those Zerglings, which was awesome for Strelok. And Check is going to be in a little bit of trouble unless he can get these queens into great positions. And the drones try and do a little bit of a citizen's arrest on the Hellions, but of course that's not a good idea when you've got someone shooting a flamethrower at you. Of course you would not want to do that in real life. But the Hellions are now going to get caught out. They finally get picked up there by the Zerglings there, who finally have their speed, and that is now done. So the expansion coming along here from Strelok. He's got that command center just hanging out there, not actually down on the ground just yet, but a lot of SCVs are ready to transfer over. I would assume we're going to see that. There it is. Now we want to see if Strelok's going to grab his gas quickly at all, and see if he actually transitions into either some mech, but I would not think that's going to be the case, given that he's got a few racks out now. So we're probably going to see some some sort of bio push at some point is on the menu for Strelok. Meanwhile, some Zerglings actually running around here, just checking out what's cracking over here, and they are going to catch those Hellions, but the Hellions are going to have to try and run them down and cook them up for dinner, and we'll see if that happens. But this natural expansion, as we mentioned before when we were talking about how those Zerglings could have actually been drones, but they were forced to be Zerglings because of the Hellion pressure, the natural expansion is not really too far up and running with its drone count. And of course the main has also lost a lot of the drones that were there as well. So Strelok has done a great job of actually pressuring here. I would not be surprised if he's in front. He is indeed. 32 harvesters for Strelok against the 24 of Check. Check finally getting a queen on this ramp. I was going to mention that he should chuck a queen or two on the ramp to make sure that the Hellions can't get by, but he's finally done it now. And is that, I think, no, it's not. I was going to say I thought that was Blue Flame, and I was just a bit surprised because I did not see a factory with a tech lab on it, but what we do see is a supply depot with a cooldown supply on it, which is cool to see. Not many people actually do that too often. But the Hellions are now starting to move in. A little bit of a push coming in with a few Marines up the back as well. We'll see if the Hellions can actually fend off, can sort of destroy the Queens, but I don't think that's going to happen. A Transfuse going down, don't see that enough, I don't think. But the Marines coming in, the Zerglings from the back are trying to swoop in and contain the units, but of course now Strelok is actually in a brilliant position here at the hallway here, where they will be able to run by if they actually get into any trouble. But as you can see, there are just way too many of them, and they are going to provide a lot of the sort of defensive, the offensive pressure here on Check once again, and even more units now streaming in from Strelok, and he's going to lose a lot of these units. He does lose a lot of drones. If we have a quick look on the units tab, 21 drones to a grand total of 40 SCVs for Strelok. So Strelok in a massive commanding position here in this game. He's going to be able to assassinate some of these mutas, and he does indeed. Takes out one, nearly got the second one as well, but the mutalisks are not going to do too much, of course. Now Check is in a terrible position because he's actually lost so many drones. He actually has to has to spend a lot on his actual drones to get his economy going, or he has to spend a lot on his military. And if his military units are going up, of course, that's no drones, which means no economy, which means a dead Zerg. So now that the push is coming in, of course, the only decision Check has to make is which units to get, and he is getting some Banelings, but it's not going to be enough because there are a lot of Marines here. The Hellions are also going to take some of the damage from the Banelings if they do get in position, but it looks as if the Marines are running away quite nicely there. Banelings actually getting mismicroed, falling behind the actual Marines, and they are all down and out, and I would say this is probably going to be it for Check Prime, being destroyed here by Strelok with some beautiful timing attack on those Hellions, and the drones attempting to run away. They've had enough of this battle. They're heading back home, but they're not going to get out. These few mutas are not going to be able to be enough damage to take out the rest of these Marines. However, it looks as if a little bit of a flanking attack from the Zerglings coming in from the sides, taking out the rest of the forces there. But I think what's done is done. As we have a look once again on the tab for income, we do see that Strelok is sitting at a comfy 52 SCVs to a very minimal, very minimal 26 drones from Check. If we have a look at the fancy tab, the fancy tab shows us, as we can see, that Strelok is in this massive commanding lead here, almost 3/4 of the way across the bar there. Even in the gas he's doing quite well too, because of course Check only has these two extractors up at the main and nothing on the natural, of course, given that there are so many drones that he needs to produce. Once again, the Hellions coming in. I would really love to see some blue flame off these Hellions, but he's not getting that upgrade just yet. He's just sort of sticking with the red flame, and that is going to be more than enough, it seems, to do a bit of damage, cause a bit of a retreat there on those drones, and of course the Mutas coming in here to try and finish them off. Seahorses with wings, as some people call them, which is quite a hilarious little nickname for them. But I think Strelok is getting geared up to take the gold. He is indeed. He's got a command center just about done. Going to switch that one into a planetary fortress, I would assume, once it gets to the gold expansion. And just having a look at the production here, we've got 4 racks, we've got a factory, we've got a starport, and some turrets also on the way, but there are just way too many turrets for these Mutas to come in and attack. So we do see that Strelok is currently sitting on a supply of 115 to 66 of Check, so Check in a terrible position. He's going to come in here, he's going to see that there are a few Marines sitting here at the rocks. He doesn't actually see that the rocks are dead, but he's just trying to scan out and see what's happening here. I think that is not a great idea, given that he needs to keep as many units alive as he can. Comes in, spots the gold, sees a couple of turrets there. He's not going to be able to head in there and take that out. And do not be surprised if there it is, the Planetary Fortress of Doom is morphing in on that gold expansion. Once that's up, that is essentially checkmate, as you can say, for Check Prime there. So he's going to be down and out, no doubt. But he is droning up quite heavily here. He has caught up a little bit in the drones. He's up to 41 drones to the 59 harvesters of Strelok, and obviously the gold is going to massively boost his income. Actually, let's have a look at the fancy tab just to see where it's at. Check that out. That is actually still way ahead of where Check is up to. So we're going to see if Check can pull something out of the bag. He's certainly going to need to, and the bag is going to need to be huge, because if it's not huge, this is going to be GG. And as we can see, once again, Strelok doing these very methodical, very well executed pushes up to the main with some tanks, with some Marines. Medevac's providing some air cover and vision as well, which is a very key thing. If he can get vision up to these sorts of positions, if Strelok can actually get some tanks over here and actually keep his medevacs around so he can spot that, he can actually take out a lot of units. And of course we do see some Zerglings attempting to come in here and provide some offensive pressure, which has been the main problem that Check has had in this particular match. He's had no offensive pressure at all, just being whittled down bit by bit by the forces of Strelok. And as we can see here, a lot of Banelings being morphed in here. They do have their somersault move, and now going to attempt to do some barrel rolls and try and head into those Marines and take them out, but I don't think it's going to be enough. We do have +1 the ground attacks on the way. A drop coming in. I was just trying to find that one. There it is. The drop coming in from Strelok. He's going to use the drop to come in the side while he can. The Muta's still trying to take out what they can, but there's just way too many Marines here, of course. The main push starting to come in here. Spots a lot of Banelings and Zerglings there as well. The drop, meanwhile, coming in here. Queen spots that, starts shooting it with the darts that she has in her pocket, and the medevac actually gets taken out before all the Marines can drop in. So that was just a little bit of a distraction push. Meanwhile, the tanks have actually moved inside. Ling's taking out a few of those tanks, which is really good for Check, but there are just way too many Marines here. Do not want to lose those Marines, of course. If he loses those, this push could be over. Massive amounts of damage being done there by Check. As we mentioned, though, the game is already over. There it is. Check agrees. GG's out on that third game. And we do see that Strelok goes through to the next round of the FXO Invitational series, and we'll see if he can take on his next opponent. I'm not actually sure who that is, but if the replays do go up, which I believe they may have actually already, I'll see if I can get those ones done as well. So great game there from Strelok. Just as we mentioned just a little bit earlier, just heaps of pressure from Strelok with all of those Hellions coming in, taking out a lot of the drones, and just really decimating the economy of Check, which put him in a terrible position, as any Zerg would know if you've been busted up by some Hellions. So Nice, he attempted to fight back, Check there, but just wasn't enough. So, great game there. 2-1 victory for Strelok, taking out a Korean pro, which is no mean feat, of course. And we'll see if he can progress further in this particular competition. So, hope you guys enjoyed that little series there. I did actually fix up the problems with the graphical errors, so hopefully there's no problems with these videos, and hopefully they're all crystal clear and a bit nicer. And we'll get some more games up and running shortly. Cheers.